So welcome back to another episode of the Lupez in my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the exchange variation of the Lupez. You should also study about the Berlin defense. It is very important. So after a6, I recommend you take, and then now knight takes c5 is a blunder because of this move. And then there's no way to stop this, so move the greater material piece to safety, and then now you lose castling privileges. So after takes, there's also this d4 idea, which I like, but it isn't good enough right now, and it's premature. Because after takes, and then these are the best moves. Here you can see that they have the bishop pair, and the rook is open. What do we have? The only thing we have is like this thing. And then even though black has a double c pawn, it also protects the king in itself. So I feel like d4 is too premature to play right now, which is why I recommend castling. So now there are three options, well, several. So when you castle, we are threatening knight takes e5. So they might try bishop e6 to defend the pawn. Now we play d4. This is good for us now because they block the queen, so they cannot trade. So after takes, now this is even worse for black because how can they defend? If they defend like this, it's a blunder, e5. If they defend with the knight, that's still a blunder, still with the same plan, e5, because it's a fork. The only move they could probably play is f6, and then try to develop the knight like this and castle. Otherwise, you'd have to play king f8 to save the pawn. Which I mean, like, why not play f6 instead of king f8? Because normally the king's diagonal is weak, but our queen is here. So we'd have to play queen d1, move the knight, and then check. And that probably doesn't even work. So we need 3 tempi just to get to this square. So I feel like f6 is the best move here. But it's not like they are okay, because we are definitely better in that position. The most aggressive way is bishop g4. Another way is queen d6. This also protects the pawn. And now we want to play knight a3. We're threatening this. So they can play b5 or they can play bishop e6. Let's first look at b5. So if b5, we push c3, and now we try to open up the center. They could try to take advantage of it and play c5 because we're still gonna play d4 anyways, and now they don't get double c pawns anymore. But now it's like we are literally better because look how much tempi they made. So 1 tempi, 2 tempi, 3 tempi. And these 2 tempi don't even do anything pretty much. What have we made? 1 tempi, 2 tempi, 3 tempi, 4 tempi, and 5 tempi. And these are all useful moves. So we use 5 tempi while they played 3 tempi, and only 1 tempi is barely ever useful. So this is great for white. Now let's look at bishop e6. Bishop e6, we play the queen to e2 move. What this move does is it already protects the pawn, and now we're trying to play like rook d1 and d4. But if they try to play something like this, we can go and snatch the bishop pair out of their hands. Because we're threatening this fork. So they have to take, and now we have the bishop pair. I mean, we don't have the bishop pair, but we snatched the bishop pair out of their hands. That means they don't have the bishop pair anymore. Which is great, because now we just have a solid structure, and they just have this pawn, this double pawn. Let's go back a bit And now after castles, let's look at the best move, or the most aggressive, bishop g4. Now what I like to play is h3, questioning the purpose of the bishop here. Should he take or should he move? Because the entire point of moving the bishop here is to stop this. So if the bishop moves anywhere back here, we just take the pawn. So here, if they try to take, which is an inaccuracy, we just take back straight away, and now they just don't have the bishop pair, and they still have this pawn, right? If they play bishop h5, now we play d3, and after queen f6, we can play knight bd2 to protect it, and try to find a way to develop this bishop here. It's a sharp line, but you are okay in the end. You could try to play b3, bishop b2, and aim for this weakness, because the queen stopped the pawn from playing there, so they have to use pieces to defend. But there's also another line which is kind of crazy. There's bishop b3, and after takes, we have this kind of pawn structure, but then our king is also open. What black should do right now, they cannot really attack us, so they should play bishop d6, developing their bishop and stopping us from playing f4, because f4 pretty much just gets our pawn structure away and we can do a lot. But bishop d6, now we just develop the knight, and we can try to play knight c4. They might try b5. We could play a4. And it's pretty dynamic, but if you don't want it to be that hard, I feel like knight bd2 is the best option for you. And then try to play b3 and then bishop b2, putting all your pawns on the light squares except that pawn, because that pawn doesn't matter really. So then you could have your only bishop. Great. And here we have it, the Lupez exchange variation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.